are now tuned in to the Lineman Lounge, the world's thickest sports podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Evo.
Como están, bitches? This is the Lineman Lounge. I am Sleeveless Mike. The man to my right is Thick Evo, also of Norsky Gaming. Brother, how you doing? I am so excited to be here. I am a little tired, but it is the 4th of July weekend. We're supposed to go out, check out some fireworks later. Hopefully this fucking rain stops and we can do that. But this is one of my favorite holidays because I get to just America the fuck on. How you doing, big guy?
Doing good, man. I am tired as well. We talked a little bit before the show. I'm doing that schedule swap because come Wednesday, I'm going from my normal 4 p.m. to midnight shift to a 4 a.m. shift. So a little 12-hour flip there on when I got to show up to work. And I am struggling right now to try to get that happening, but also excited for this weekend. It is a nice long 4-day weekend for me. So enjoying the rest of the day. We don't have the fireworks today. We do it like traditional Americans in America. Mm-hmm. We have it on the 4th. And so we'll go do the fireworks on the 4th of July as well. But today there's a Stand Up for Freedom fair of some sort that's actually being put on. I don't know if you remember him, Josh Mayer.
I do. Yeah.
He's helping out with that big time.
Oh, nice.
Over by Punchy's Tavern and Paul's Pub and all those areas. So we're going to go check that out here after the show and get our patriotism on there. And then I might get to see a couple of the boys tonight for some drinks or something like that. We had talked about that. So we got people, rolling back into town from all over the world. So hopefully that goes down. But yeah, that's kind of the plans going forward for the day.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. So listen, we're gonna do fireworks on the 4th of July as well. I'm not an un-American, but there's a fair festival that happens every year, Fairport Harbor, right on the lake. It's actually a very fun, cool place to be to watch the fireworks because you get to see the reflections off the lake. But since the 4th falls on a Tuesday, they decided to do the fair over the weekend. But we are also going to be working on trying to do some fireworks and all those things. Neighborhood, we're doing a little block party, lighting off shitloads of fireworks here in the neighborhood as well. But man, I just fucking love the 4th of July. You get to go out, fucking shoot fireworks at your friends, maybe have a couple of drinks and have a day. That's another guy, probably loves 4th of July, loves drinking. Blake's probably hurting people. I think knives are more of his thing than fireworks, but we love him anyways. What's up, Taurus? Thanks for hopping in here, big guy. But yeah, man, I love the 4th of July. It's been one of my favorite holidays for basically forever. And now, I mean, plus I get to wear shit like this. Who doesn't love massive sleeveless fucking hoodies? Because this thing is outrageously large. It looks great, but I feel like a boxer coming into the ring when their hoods are down because it is so goddamn big. Like I'm just.
That is a big hoodie.
Get in there, baby. Just in there. Whew. It's a little large, but who doesn't like doing that? Like,
who doesn't like it when it's a little bit larger?
Exactly. Nope.
I wish it was.
I'm gonna keep that one to myself.
I wish it was. But yeah, that's actually you have to go try to find some more patriotic type stuff here because the lady wants pictures. So we're gonna be looking for that as well. I got
nice.
Some normal stuff, like my American flag banana hammock and stuff, but obviously not going to wear that for the show.
I mean, you'd have been fine. We just change this and we'll switch it over to the OnlyFans account.
Absolutely. Well, it's actually kind of scary down here. You talked about the fireworks. We have had so many fires.
Wow.
And it's just the beginning of our hot season. We've had this last week over 100 most days, but everything is catching on fire out here. We actually had posts get shut down for a little bit because of a fire. So we have fireworks going off here all willy-nilly. This town's about to burn to the fucking ground.
That's not great. I don't miss the heat and the dryness of Arizona and the fires. I'm very glad that it started to rain a little bit in our area because the smoke and the fires were fucking brutal again. One day that they actually canceled, baseball games for the Little League. They canceled it for the single A affiliate, the Lake County Captains, because the air quality was so fucking bad. So I'm glad it's raining, but also kind of stinks. So hopefully it kind of subsides. We maybe go catch some fireworks. But if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, and I'll sit here and I'll do homework, which I should be doing anyway. So, yeah. But so we're gonna kind of segue into some youth sports, talking about those fires. We had to play our last game. The air quality was not great, but we were able to play. And well, one team played, one team didn't. And we were the team that did not play that day. We showed up and got our asses beat. We were just not in it. First inning, we looked really, really good. We're out there turning 4-6-3 double plays. Like, we looked like a ball club. Get to the second inning, and we just can't fucking get out of the inning. Error after mental mistake after mental mistake. And then one just compounds the other. As they start to pile on, you just can't get out of, we couldn't get out of our own way to try to get out of the damn inning. They ended up scoring 11 runs in the second inning, and that was about all she wrote. So that was tough. I think the boys learned a valuable lesson. Like, nobody's coming out. I'm not going to go out there. I can't help you. I can't make the plays for you. I can tell you where to be. I can try to put you in the right position, but we have to trust ourselves, believe in ourselves and our teammates to go out, work, get us out of an inning so we can go ahead, compete, and try to get back into a game. We just struggled with that on that last game. Now, that one game is not an indication of our entire season. We finished the regular season 8-4, pretty good record. We might be the number 2 seed going into the playoffs. That last loss kind of maybe put a damper on that. But either way, we're going to be in a good spot going into the playoffs, decent playoff seeding. And we'll see how it is. But we got a few weeks before playoffs even start. So there's going to be plenty of practices getting these boys ready. Probably doing some hitting practice, some situational baseball practice, because I actually had a couple of our young ball players decided they wanted to make a podcast. They recorded a podcast. They broke down their game. They talked about some other sports. It was very sweet. They wanted to call it the Lineman Lounge Junior, but they decided on a different name. They decided to go with Talking with the Boys. I think it was great. I obviously they're very young. They're new to the podcasting game. Yeah. So thank you, Mom Carlisle. Got them in there. I thought it was really cool. They wanted to try to do something like that, and that they are thinking actively about their game. That makes me feel very good as a coach. Like, hey, we're going to be ready. We're going to go and we're going to make things happen, because these guys they know their mistakes. They know what they're doing wrong. And if you're able to recognize that, then you're able to make corrections to your game there.
All right. Well, hey, if they're Talking with the Boys or Talk to the Boys podcast wants to come join us sometime, there's always an option for that, right?
Absolutely. We can absolutely have talking. I think it's Talking to the Boys. Maybe it's Talking with the Boys. Either way, if they want to get on here one time, especially after the season, we can go back. We can break down the season. I think that would be great. I feel very accomplished as a coach and a dad that a couple of the young ball players wanted to do that. Graydon was a part of that. So that's really cool. And give them a little exposure, give them a little shine, let the boys talk.
Absolutely. That'd be dope.
But other than that, man, I don't have anything else youth sports wise. Still probably youth sports going on out there, just not tracking them.
Yep. That's
all
pretty
right.
much how it is.
Yep. Understood. Especially with the schedule switch and everything, man. It's hard to keep track of all of the things that are going on all of the time. Luckily for us, our bread and butter has been kind of quiet. There's not a ton of NFL news. Not much of any NFL news to talk about, with the exception of maybe some of the gambling violations. We knew that there were gambling violations that were going to come out. We just didn't know exactly what the penalties were going to be. I think it's 3 guys are suspended indefinitely, which is the standard rate for, the gambling offenses. That's what we saw with Calvin Ridley. And then we also got one that is a 6-game suspension because they were not gambling on football, but they were gambling inside the facility. Is this big news, small news? I mean, we kind of knew some of this shit was coming, right?
Yeah, the fact that it's all smaller name players, we've had some bigger ones in the past that, it has impacted, including, Jamison Williams with the Lions
Yeah.
most recently. But now you have Isaiah Rodgers, Rashad Berry, and Demetrius Taylor all being suspended indefinitely. And if you don't know those names, it's not that big of a deal because other than Isaiah Rodgers, who is a kick returner and an okay one at that, and we've talked about how kick returns might not be that big of a deal anymore. These guys are all just kind of names that you wouldn't know necessarily unless they were a part of your team. Titans also had Nicholas Pettit Frere. I don't know how to say his name.
It. I think that's right.
But he's a lineman. He's been suspended for 6 games. It's interesting what's happening with this because obviously the NFL is having to combat gambling being widespread at this point. It's legal in most places. And of course, you don't want a situation like, where players are gambling on their own team and possibly impacting the game like that. And that stuff all makes sense to me. The gambling within a team facility on other sports, it doesn't make sense to me. And it makes me question. I mean, some of these gambling sites are, I guess, tattletaling on.
They absolutely
on the players. So
the sites are narking these guys out because they have agreements with the leagues to be sponsors and they get money. So if they know it's happening and they don't turn them over, they're going to lose that money. So if you are a professional athlete and you are gambling inside the facility, you're going to get caught because they're going to fucking narc you out.
I think it's weird. Happen. It's weird that the other sports can't be gambled on. Now, I understand NFL and things like that. Yeah. Of course, don't touch your own sport. But if it is a different sport, why does it really matter? And I don't have a great answer for that. Why it matters if they can gamble on other sports outside of the team facility. So why is it a big deal in the team facility? I guess they just don't want the possible optics of a reporter walking into the locker room and seeing someone on Caesars on their phone or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but that's probably it. I would have to imagine that it is all about the optics. You can't gamble inside the facility because if somebody comes in, a reporter, if anybody comes in and they say, hey, what are you doing? You're like, oh, I'm gambling. They'll be like, oh my God, this guy is placing bets inside the locker room. He is going to absolutely stink today. He's going to get hurt. Like the mind can run wild and things are oftentimes reported, maybe without all the facts. Because everybody wants to be first. They're gonna be like, oh my God, I got the scoop. Let me fucking put this out there. It would be a bad look for the league, especially owners, if your players are inside your facility gambling. So it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense. It's legal, right?
Yeah. I would just like, other than them tracking your location GPS wise when you're using the app to place that bet, how are they knowing that it's happening in the facility? Just timestamps and being like, this bet took place at 2:15 on a Tuesday and he was at the facility, obviously. Like, I don't know. It seems like the NFL could be going out of their way, or those apps could be going out of their way to find guys who are gambling at the facility. And it seems a little bit much to me, but it is what it is. And at this point, it's not that big of a deal. Cause like I said, the players that are affected are not anyone that you're going to be like, now my team is screwed.
Right.
So, but the fact that this is happening and has affected some players as good as Jamison Williams, and who's the guy now went from the Falcons to
Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley.
Got traded to the Jags.
Yeah. So he's coming back, but
I mean, it's a 1-year suspension. It's a guaranteed indefinite 1-year suspension. Now it says indefinite. So if you continue to fuck up, you won't get back in, but it's a 1-year suspension. Anytime the NFL says you're suspended indefinitely, it's almost certainly just for the rest of the year. Because everybody's going to reapply for, to get back in the league, and it almost always happens. I'm not sure. Maybe the only guy that I can think of not getting his application back into the league he requested it and didn't get it would be like a Josh Gordon. It's the only guy I can really think of not getting back in if he applies for reinstatement. Now, there are other guys that were suspended indefinitely and then just never fucking reapplied. Like Justin Blackmon, receiver from the Jags, long time ago. Decade plus ago at this point. He got suspended, I believe it was for weed, and then never fucking reapplied. That was just the end of the career.
Well, he was also very bad. So,
yeah.
like, even for a
great.
first-round pick, he was an absolute bust.
Yeah. But listen, gambling's not going anywhere. If you're gonna gamble, do it fucking smart. Don't gamble in the facility, please, guys, especially if you're on the fucking Browns. And I'm gonna say this for you as well. If you're on the Vikings, don't gamble in the vicinity in the facility. We need you guys playing on Sundays.
Yeah, it as a player, I would be like, I know the rules, but I don't know when they're going to not truly trust the rules. So I'm just not going to gamble unless it's like out of the season or something like that. And even then, I probably wouldn't. I would probably be gambling, if anything, on women's cricket.
Absolutely. So I love that this comment came in. We have an individual that we know. I don't know if we've ever outed who this person is that woke up in the middle of the night at like 3:00 in the morning to gamble on, was it South African women's cricket? I believe, I think it was South African women's cricket, which is just a wild thing to gamble on. So with that, we're going to pop that up across the bottom. Hey, thanks for joining us. You can call in if you have a gambling habit, if you have a gambling problem. Call 1-800-522-4700. Because a gambling addiction is just like any other addiction. It's not good for you. It can cost you far more than just some money. So, all right, man. I got nothing else on the NFL. Really, there's not much to talk about at this point. We're still, 10 days away from most training camps getting kicked off?
Yeah, a lot of them are happening here at least 10 days away. It's normally towards more the end of July. You've got Jaguars, left tackle Cam Robinson. He got suspended 4 games for PEDs. That's definitely a hit for them, especially after they just lost Jawan Taylor as well in free agency. Not that Jawan Taylor is great, but they have their starting tackles no longer available to start the season. Buda Baker says that he will be at camp even though he's requesting a trade. And other than that,
hold in.
Again, not a lot going on because we are in the sit and wait period.
Yeah, we are in the fucking dog days of summer. There's just not much football. But when I think of the dog days of summer, I think baseball. I think of, the Midsummer Classic. I think All-Star Game. This is the part of the year where, the sports that I love, we're kind of middling right now. I love baseball, but we are just right in it, in the dead fucking center. Nobody knows who anybody is yet. Well, we know who some teams are, which we'll talk about a little bit, but we get the greatest event in American sports that is not an actual game. The Home Run Derby is coming up very soon. I also love the MLB All-Star Game. I think it is the best All-Star Game to watch. It's better than the NBA because they're not actually playing a game. They're not playing defense. We've seen the absolute disgrace that is the Jesus Christ, the Pro Bowl for the NFL. It is
Pro Bowl
not football.
Games.
Yeah, like when they were playing flag, that wasn't a fucking All-Star game. MLB actually plays their game. They compete to win, and it's an All-Star game. It's great. I love it. And we finally know who some of those All-Stars are going to be. The All-Star starters have been announced. So on your AL side, you got starting at catcher, Jonah Heim of the Texas Rangers. First base, Yandy Diaz, Tampa Bay. Second base is going to be Marcus Semien of those Rangers again. You're going to hear me say that a few more times. Corey Seager of the Rangers. Josh Jung, third base of the Rangers. Michael Trout obviously makes it. He's going to make it even if he doesn't fucking play because he is a massive brand, but obviously deserves to be there this year. Randy Arozarena from Tampa Bay. Aaron Judge in the outfield, and Shohei Ohtani at DH, because if there's an All-Star game and Shohei's not in it, it's not a fucking All-Star game. So that's your AL side. Any surprises there? For me, it's how many fucking Texas Rangers are starting in this All-Star game. They've got 4 Rangers.
4 of them. Yeah.
That's for a team that was not very good last year. and then decided that they were going to go all in kind of over the next couple of years. It's insane how good they have been. They are better than the Astros right now. They have performed better than the Astros. They are swinging the bats very well. So good for them. But that is a massive surprise to me.
Yeah. It's always a surprise when you see that many players from one team making the All-Star roster, especially in the AL where you do have a team like the Rays. You would expect it to be the Rays since they've been kind of dominant all year to be the one that is just dominating how many players they got out there. And the Rays only have 2 guys, if I'm correct.
Yeah, two. Yeah. But hey, you know what? A lot of those guys fucking earned it. Jonah Heim has been the best catcher in baseball, and it hasn't been talked about. He has been so good to watch. Corey Seager having a resurgent year. Josh Jung, that was a surprise, but he's put up really, really good numbers. But when you're competing against the likes of, and this is me being a homer, a Jose Ramirez, who is a perennial fucking, MVP candidate, and a Rafael Devers, who is also one of those guys that you constantly think about, to get a Josh Jung up there, that's great for him. I hope he continues to have a great year. That is also kind of a surprise. It's not one of the names that you expect to see. So with that, let's bounce over to the NL side. Starting at catcher for the NL is going to be Sean Murphy of Atlanta. He has been fantastic. I have him on my fantasy baseball team. And my God, catchers typically are kind of a worthless position when it comes to fantasy. He is absolutely fucking raked this year. It has been so good. Freddie Freeman, Dodgers, starting at first base. Luis Arias of the Miami team. Could have been your Twins. Could have been the Twins, but now he plays for the Miami Marlins, hitting almost 400.
He keeps on teetering with 400.
I know. Continuing on at shortstop, Orlando Arcia. Just great. That is the surprise for me, but we're going to continue on. Nolan Arenado at third base. Book it. Ronald Acuna Jr. in the outfield. That guy is probably winning an MVP this year. Mookie Betts, another name that we are constantly going to see in the All-Star game. This is a little bit of it's not a surprise because he's been so good. Corbin Carroll, young kid, down in Arizona. He has stolen so many bases. He has hit for power. He has hit for average. That kid absolutely deserves to be there. So that is great. And then we're getting a JD Martinez as our DH also for the Dodgers. So we see kind of what I would expect to see out of the NL. We have Atlanta, we have the Dodgers, and we have one St. Louis squad in there. Like there's going to be a lot of St. Louis, a lot of Atlanta, and a lot of Dodgers. But getting a Luis Arias that absolutely makes sense. He should be there. And then a Corbin Carroll, great for him because he looks like he is going to be a dude for a long, long time because his career is just getting started.
Yeah, I'm happy for Arias. I wish that we would have just done the right thing and kept him. It just feels silly for us to have gotten rid of such a talent. It's not like last year was going to be a fluke. And yeah, other than that, I mean, it's a lot of what you would expect. Corbin Carroll is the other outlier on that because this is his first time going to this All-Star game, and he's just looked really good.
Yeah. Man, I'm so glad that Luis Arias is not in the AL Central. It's very,
we could definitely use his bat. That would be great.
Yeah. So speaking of the AL Central, let's talk real quick about our teams and why we can't figure it the fuck out. Evo, what is happening? Why you guys don't have a winning record anymore? You are now at 500. We are one game back, but we are 40-42. Why do these teams suck so bad and they cannot pull away from one another? We're going to watch this all the way down to probably the last week being like, nah, we don't really want to win this thing.
No, I mean, we're 500 right now, but we are one up in against Baltimore in the 5th. So you never know. We might actually have a winning record after today.
The fact that we're getting excited about a winning record this far into the baseball season for the division lead.
The level of competition in the AL Central is so strong that it is tough for any team to get above 500. And that's why the cream of the crop has risen to the top, and the Guardians and the Twins are basically 1 and 2 the whole time. We're terrible. It is what it is.
Yep.
I don't have a good excuse. For the Twins, my excuse is piss poor front office management because of guys like Luis Arias. It's the same thing that we do all the time. We build up these players, we find gems, and then we're like, hey, we are cheap as fuck. We're not paying anybody. Bye-bye. And these guys go and become big deals for other teams like David Ortiz and Chuck Knobloch and Torrey Hunter for a while. I mean, that was a little bit later in his career, but still. And I've seen it with pitchers
Torrey
like
Hunter
Johan
was very good for the Angels too. Yeah. Oh, Johan. Oh man.
Johan Santana, Francisco Liriano, like these guys that, you know, we will build up, we'll have them here for a couple of years. And then it's like, hey, we could continue to pay these guys, or we could just go cheap and be bad. And let's do that. So I don't know, man. It's, you know, I think that the Twins' problem is that front office, you know, not wanting to extend players. And it puts us in this situation where we'll have some decent players out there and guys who are on short-term deals and whatnot coming to us. And it just doesn't really build you a great squad unless you're playing Moneyball somehow. And that's not happening.
Yeah. So, and I agree with your assessment. I think that there's a chance that there's going to be some changes. Especially if you guys don't win the Central, I believe that there could be some changes on the horizon in that front office. Our problem is that we just will not go out and purchase a bat. We know that what we need is a bat. We have known for a very long time, Cleveland is a fucking pitching factory. There's a reason that we have 3 dudes up in the majors right now. This is their first year and they're fucking dealing. Like, we are really good at developing pitchers, but we cannot develop a fucking consistent hitter who generates power. Outside of Jose Ramirez, I cannot think of the last time we have had a guy come all the way through the system and been a consistent hitter for average and power. That means we got to go out and spend, or you got to look somewhere within the organizational line to figure out why the fuck we're not developing hitters. Something has to change. I know that's what our problem is. I think the Guardians organization understands that's probably what the problem is, but where are we going to fix it? We got to figure out where the problem starts so we can try to figure it out and fix it, because what we're doing, like some of the lineups we have tossed together over the last week have been like, who the fuck are these guys? Like, we have really good players. We have young guys who need more at bats, but the lineup construction's been a little weird and we're missing just power. We have no fucking power. We are the worst team in Major League Baseball at home runs by a lot, like double digits. We are that far behind in home runs. We need to fucking get a bat who can hit for power. But if do I think that's going to happen this year? Not a goddamn chance. Not unless we trade Shane Bieber. So
we're going to basically be doing the same sort of show.
This is going to be the same
week.
Conversation every week. Yeah. Because I don't think you guys are going to make a change, and I don't think that we are either, because why the fuck would we?
Yeah.
We're competing for a division title.
Technically.
Doing the status quo. Yeah.
Do we want to say we're competing for a division title, or do you want to say you're competing to not be one of the worst teams of baseball? I don't know, but that's the AL Central.
That is exactly what the AL Central is. So we're going to stick in baseball for just a bit longer. So one thing that our teams don't do really is spend money, right? You guys trade away a Luis Arias because you're not going to pay him. We won't go out. We won't spend on a big bat because that's something that our organizations typically do not do. And I don't think that our markets are conducive to make that happen, right? If you like, Cleveland is a decent sized market. If you do the Cleveland, Akron, Canton market, that is the market share there that they have. I think they're like the 27th biggest market in the country, right? Which is nothing to sneeze at. That is a good chunk of people, right? But when you look at where all of the other teams are at, that puts you bottom third of the league and how big your market is. And I believe it's going to be the same way with your Minneapolis, St. Paul. It's going to be probably even a little bit lower than the Cleveland area. Or it's going to be somewhere very similar. So we can't go out and we can't spend a shitload of money. However, if you're in a market like a New York, where you have a massive, like probably the biggest television market in the world, you can spend as much money as you want. And when your owner is dirty, filthy rich, like the Mets owner is, Cohen has more money than he knows what to do with. And they have spent more money than any team in the history of baseball this year at $353 million. And this month, they have moved down 10 fucking games farther from the Braves. They are 37-46. They have a negative run differential. They are 18 and a half games back. They are not making their way back into this race. Mets fans know this all too well. What has to change for this Mets organization, whether it's the spending of the money, the people that they're bringing in, like something is very wrong. You can't tell me that you're going to spend more money than anybody in baseball and you're going to be that bad at baseball. Is that the manager? Is that front office? Is that the player saying, fuck it, I'm getting paid?
Yeah, I think that is we see it in the NFL with teams that have gigantic salary caps.
Uh-oh. Evo, you froze. Or do you just time that so incredibly good? Like Dave Portnoy couldn't pull off what you're doing right now. It's so good. Okay. Well, I'm going to text him real quick. Oh, man. I think this is the first time that his connection's ever been so bad that it is just straight up fucking froze. Okay. So, anyways, we were talking about the Mets. I was asking Evo about, hey, where's the problem lie on this? So if you guys are in there here, toss it in the comments. If you think you know why the Mets are so fucking bad, let me know. Because there he goes. Yeah, he'll be back. Because when you look at it, you have guys that were perennial all-stars, right? You have somebody who should be one of the faces of baseball in a Francisco Lindor. He is a all-world shortstop, or at least was viewed that way for a very, very long time. And I know that because I viewed him that way. I got his fucking jersey hanging up right here on my wall. Like, he was an absolute stud. What's up, big guy? You straight fucking froze, dude.
Well, we lost internet completely here. My phone was like, hey, we're on cellular now.
I was like, oh, man. I was like, hey, by the way, if you're trying to stay frozen, you're doing way better than Dave Portnoy. Like,
No, I don't even remember what I was going to be saying. But the Mets, I don't think it's a manager thing. I think that is pure front office. They have more money than they know what to do with. They're just going to throw it at players like we see in the NFL and free agency, where you'll go out and because you have the money, you can bring in players, but it doesn't necessarily make the team. You can just bring in names, and that's not necessarily going to do you any good if those players are not worth the money and you don't have a good roster consistency. I mean, they are just trying to win, not by knowing how to manage a baseball team correctly, but by just throwing money at the problem, which is a very New York thing to do. And that's fine. But obviously it's not working. And that's why you have situations like Bobby Bonilla, who we just had Bobby Bonilla Day yesterday, where he got paid yet again the $1.19 million that he gets annually, which is just an awesome deal.
Until what, I think 2030 he gets that?
Something like that. Just
an insane amount of money he is continuing. He's 60 years old, and he is still being paid by the Mets organization. Now, the Bobby Bonilla deal is great for Bobby Bonilla. It's not bad for the Mets because it's not a huge amount of money, 1.1, when you're already spending $352 million elsewhere. Adding on that little 1.1 to take you up to 353, not a big deal.
From the little man's perspective, it's nice.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not
deferred money contracts are huge in baseball, and guys should be taking them any chance they get because you get to have things like the Bobby Bonilla Day. I believe Mookie Betts has deferred money in his contract. He's going to be making stupid fucking money at some point, like $8 million a year. I believe Ken Griffey Jr. is on deferred contract with the Reds. He gets a couple $1 million every year. So it is the deferred money thing. I think is fine, right? Like, because they're normal. But when you add that in to the context of how bad the fucking Mets are with how much they're spending, it makes everything look so much worse.
Yeah. And that's, I guess, again, from the low man's perspective, the deferred contract looks great. But if I'm one of those players, and I'm sure there's some way you can do it financially, but they are able to take, you can live off of, 20 million or something like that easily for the rest of your life. And then everything else after that is just gravy. And so you should be investing that and doing different things, investment wise to have your money make you more money. Right. That is the downside, is that you don't have it all up front to be making that money now when you can only make it later. But I'm sure, like I said, there's fun ways to financial play around with that. Financial institutions will know, okay, he's getting this amount of money for the next X amount of years. We're just going to give this up front to you in some sort of a loan or something like that if you want to go and play the financial markets or do something like that. But either way, I would take the $1.19 million signing bonus every year, because that's definitely a little bit more than I make.
Do you have a structured settlement? But do you need cash now?
Call JG Wentworth.
877 cash now. Oh man, I can't believe we were able to squeeze that into the show again at some point.
Absolutely.
Oh man. Fly. Yeah, but I was trying to say while you were trying to get back, like, they have guys that should be faces of baseball. Like, Francisco Lindor should be a face of baseball. He's batting .220. Like, he's not performing. Pete Alonso is another guy. He set the record for the NL for most home runs in a rookie year. Like, he is a spectacular guy to watch. He's fun to watch, but he's hitting, I think, like a paltry fucking 225 or 230. Like, they're just not performing. They got two pitchers who are pushing 40, who are almost certainly going to the Hall of Fame, both of them, who have not performed great. Verlander has been much better than Scherzer, but they are both starting to improve. But at this point, I think it's too little too late. The fucking Braves are so good in that division. I don't think there's any chance they got at coming back and even sniffing a division title. And if you go and you look at the wild card, the Mets are down 9 games back in the wild card at this point. And that basically happened over this last month. So they're down bad. They're not in a good spot at all.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't care. I'm glad that someone else is worse than us.
Yeah, that is nice, right? As we go and compete for a division title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, however you want to spin it.
It feels hard to say it that way because that's just not the case.
I mean, we are. It's just clever marketing to say that we're competing for the division title. We're competing to not be the worst.
It is clever marketing. It absolutely is. Man. You got anything else baseball-wise that we want to hit real quick? Oh, no. I do got to break this news. I believe it just is getting ready to... Twins put infielder Lewis on the IL with a left oblique strain.
Yeah, I did see that. That's pretty normal. Royce Lewis, like I said, he's good when he plays and gets hurt pretty often.
Oh man, nah, we can't catch him. We can't get out of our own way in the Central. We just can't do it. But all right, I got nothing else baseball wise. You got anything?
No.
All right, cool. We're gonna get off of baseball. We had a comment come in earlier. We were talking about somebody who was gambling on women's cricket. I thought it was South Africa. It might have been Australia, where that bet was the betting on Australian women's cricket. Doesn't make it any better. Does not make that gamble, that bet any better. The fact it was Australia. Oh, man. All right. So we're going to wrap up today's show with a little bit of talk about the NBA, because the NBA is probably the most interesting league right now with all the things that are going on. We have trades happening. Signings are happening. Damian Lillard requested a trade. and his preferred destination is Miami. I believe that trade makes Miami one of the favorites, if not the favorite, to repeat out in the East and get back to the NBA Finals. Damian Lillard is going to be a great piece, but what are they going to give up? We had some discourse on our Facebook page about what was going to happen, that Tyler Hero is for sure gone. Now, maybe Tyler Hero does have to be a part of that package. I don't think that it's a guarantee. I think there are other things to move because you got Kyle Lowry on contract there too that you could probably move and probably want to try to move. But Tyler Hero doesn't fit in Portland at all. Like he's not going to be a part of their plans. So excuse me. So if Tyler Hero is a part of that deal, we will see a third team get involved to probably come in and take Tyler Hero and give some additional picks to Portland. Portland, right now, if you're getting rid of Damian Lillard, who is probably the best player in franchise history for Portland, you got to get pretty decent capital back. And I think that he is going to make that team super, super good, super competitive. We already saw what Jimmy Butler could do with a cast of guys that were undrafted for the most part.
Yeah. I mean, Lillard going to Miami makes a lot of sense for Miami because they were right there. A lot of people had them thinking that they're going to win the whole thing. And adding another guy like that, that's bringing back another one of those superstar squads out there. The question is Damian Lillard overrated, as it was kind of pointed out by...
I was going to ask. I was going to bring up the reference to video, but...
Yeah, which awesome video, by the way. I love that they took the time to spend most of it talking about Aaron Rodgers being overrated. But I'm not willing to say Damian Lillard is overrated. And even if he is, he's still extremely good, and he's only going to help that team going forward. So we'll see if they're able to make that deal happen.
Yeah. So elsewhere in the NBA, we got some other small signings. And this is, I mean, I'm happy for Russell Westbrook, but you want to talk about a fall from grace. Russell Westbrook has just signed a deal maybe yesterday with the Clippers, getting 2 years, $7.8 million for a guy that at one point won the MVP, and it wasn't that long ago that happened. Russell has had struggles molding himself into a team player depending on the team. He has had a precipitous drop in his performance. I felt very good about that $10 word there, by the way. But I mean, he's still in the league. He's going to hang around. He's going to go to the Clippers, who have a pretty decent squad, who were competing for the playoffs. Does that?
He was traded from the Lakers to the Clippers midseason, right?
He was traded there midseason, but now they have re-signed him. So apparently they like the way he's working with them. But you go from being a max contract guy to 2 years, 7.8. That is very low for a former MVP.
Yeah, he's definitely fallen off a bit of a cliff.
And it sucks for not Damian Lillard, Jesus Christ, for Russell Westbrook. But I mean, I'm happy that he's still staying in the league. I hope that he finds a foothold again, because he's lost his shot. He is Rain Man. What fucking movie is this? Is that Long Came Polly? Rain Man, where he's just throwing it at the fucking backboard. What movie is that? God damn it. All right. Well, other than that, I mean, I don't know if there's much. There's NBA news, like Domantas Sabonis signs a huge extension with the Kings, 5 years, $217 million. That's really good fucking money.
Mm-hmm. We've had a bunch of other little trades going on. You know, mm-hmm. Clippers got Kenyon Martin Jr. Jazz ended up sending Damian Jones over to you guys.
Right. That's an inconsequential trade.
Yep. Max Strus, a signing trade.
Yeah.
Victor Oladipo.
That was good. Max Strus is going to be nice. Oh, Oladipo go to the Thunder. I didn't see that one.
Yeah, the Heat got some draft compensation. So that was it.
Okay. Which they're going to turn around and repackage to go get a fucking Damian Lillard.
Very possibly, yep.
Yeah. All right. Man, anything else in the sports world that we need to hit on that we have not hit? Actually, we do have one more thing, I think.
There's only one thing, and it is general sports world.
Mm-hmm.
ESPN.
Yeah.
Is firing everybody.
Everybody. I was gonna ask if you had taken the time to go and look to see the people that have been let go, because some of the people I don't know, some of the people I don't necessarily like. Some of them I think are fantastic and should absolutely not been let go. And I'm going to start right off the top. Susie Kolber is going to be missed by every fucking football fan because she became like a part of the football lexicon. Like hearing her voice, you're like, okay, here we go. Football's on. Like I am sad that Susie is gone. Now I've seen some articles that may be suggesting who her replacement would be. I love what they're suggesting because they're saying that Mina Kimes could take over that role on NFL Live. I love Mina Kimes. I believe she is one of the most brilliant football analysts that is on ESPN. But losing Susie that sucked, man.
Yeah, I've kind of posted about a lot of these on the Facebook page, but Susie Kolber, that was a big one. And she did realistically, they want female inclusion in the NFL in any way possible. Susie Kolber was one of the big names that really brought like female acceptance into reporting on the sport. Now, Mina Kimes, if that's true that she were to take that spot, that'd be amazing because I really think that Mina Kimes is fantastic. But you have other people like Jeff Van Gundy, Jalen Rose. Whether or not you're big on these guys,
I love Jalen. Steve was just kind of there. Steve was the name.
Yeah, but it's surprising when you have a lot of these names of people leaving that maybe they're not the best, but they're still part of the brand. And who are they going to be replaced with? Can they really get big enough names to make an impact here? Or does ESPN just kind of consider that these people are voices talking and they don't really care who the voice is coming from? If you're talking about announcing games, I don't know. Like, I don't know how they're going to replace all these people and get better with it.
I'm not sure that better was the mandate. I feel like they just needed to cut funds, cut whatever it is that they needed to do. Because I don't know. Are we going to see a massive push to bring other people in? I don't know. I feel like this has got to be a very weird time for Pat McAfee. Like bringing his show over, bringing his boys over, and getting as much money as they got, and then to back that up with, hey, by the way, we have just fired 30 people who have been here for, I don't know, a fucking decade because we have to make cuts. And you're like, by the way, here is just this Brinks truck of fucking money that we backed up.
I mean, Todd McShay.
I know. Oh, man. Now
Todd
we're
McShay was
only fucking Mel Kiper. That's all we got is Mel Kiper.
Which is kind of surprising. You would think that,
Mel.
it's become Todd and Mel. You would think that they would just wipe the slate clean, or that Mel Kiper would be like, I'm not doing it without Todd. You would think. I mean, obviously, Mel is a little bit more well-known because of the hair and the personality and that sort of stuff, but they're kind of become a 1-2 punch over the last decade. So I'm surprised that Mel would be okay with it. I mean, you think that he'd have some sort of pull.
You would think, but I don't know if that's the case anymore. With Disney coming in, Bob Iger taking over and all that stuff, it doesn't feel like it's the same group. I mean, because we lost there were some other people, like, I don't think we got to it. Stan Verrett is now gone as well. Mm-hmm. Like he was one of the old school guys, one of those few voices that was still there from when I was a kid watching Sports Center fucking 6 times a day, waiting for oh, look, it's finally different. There's a new clip in here. Mm-hmm. Like he's one of those dudes. Now he's no longer there.
Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see how other sports agencies like Fox Sports and whatnot go around and try to poach these guys. I mean, not poach. I mean, they're on the open market now.
They're free agents, baby.
Barstool Sports going after Todd McShay. They've made it well known that they want Todd.
Why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Especially what Barstool is trying to do and to continue to build and expand the things that they do at Barstool. Why wouldn't you want a Todd McShay? Like, he's the best person on the market when it comes to draft coverage.
Yeah. So it's interesting too, because Barstool, they do great sports content, but it is not the cookie cutter type sports content that you normally see from a Fox Sport or an ESPN. Bringing in a Todd McShay brings in a whole bunch more legitimacy to you, and you can still have your fun segments and stuff like that, but then you can have a lot more serious segments with a guy like Todd McShay, and maybe they try to go that route and sign a whole bunch of these big names. I think Fox Sports will probably go after a lot of these people, and it'll be interesting to see if it ends up being a boon for ESPN to drop these contracts and bring in new blood, or if it kind of sets them back and allows other sports agencies to really become more popular.
Well, and if they're thinking that you can just take one voice and replace it with another, I don't know that they understand their audience. There are people that I simply will not fucking listen to on ESPN. Like, I just, I don't care. I'm not going to watch them. I'm not going to name any names, but there are some people I'm like, I don't really give a shit what this person has to say, because they don't speak with any enthusiasm. They don't often sound like they know what they're talking about. And it's been proven on multiple occasions they don't know what they're talking about. So those people, if they stay and then you get rid of a name or a voice that people resonate with, that people like, they're going to be like, well, I'm going to go fucking follow him. I'm going to go watch Fox, right? Like, there were people when Skip Bayless left ESPN and went over to Fox. There are people that went with Skip because they liked Skip, right? And they didn't like Stephen A. There are going to be people who are going to follow Shannon Sharp because he just left Fox. He might come over to ESPN. He might just go do his own thing with Club Shay Shay. Like, some of these people have generated a massive voice and a massive following because they know what the fuck they're talking about. There's a chance you can't think I can just replace this person with any other swinging dick. It's just not going to happen.
Yep. And here's a better list compiled here that I just found of the people who were let go. A bunch of them we've already talked about. A bunch of them are people that I don't even know who they are. But Jeff Van Gundy, Jalen Rose, Keyshawn Johnson, Max Kellerman, Susie Colbert, Chris Chelios, Matt Hasselbeck, Steve Young, Rob Ninkovich, Neil Everett, Ashley Brewer, June Lee, LaFonso Ellis, Todd McShay, Jordan Cornette, Jason Fitz, and David Pollock. So there are a bunch of big names in there.
David Pollock not on College Game Day anymore.
Yeah, it's going to be a new look ESPN going forward here.
Yeah, and like if you get rid of one and bring in another, this is a massive like shift in that culture of what's happening at ESPN. It is an entire new wave. So we'll see how everybody gets along over there. And there's probably going to be some animosity. We've seen animosities come out from ESPN over the last few years with, was it Rachel Nichols and some of the things that happened with that. So I don't know that shit's going away anytime soon. So
they're just making room to add us in.
Yeah, that's
they
good.
got rid of all those contracts. Now they can pay us finally. They can meet our salary.
Yeah, look, we'll take what 1% of what Pat got, 1% of what Pat McAfee got. We'd probably be okay with that.
Yeah, I mean anything's better than nothing.
Yes, it is. Joe Rockstar popping in. What's up, brother? So Disney kills another franchise. First Star Wars and Indiana Jones. Now ESPN. So Star Wars, I didn't hate the last 3 movies. They weren't great, but they weren't terrible. Indiana Jones, they need to stop making those fucking movies. I don't understand why Harrison Ford agreed to make another Indiana Jones movie. The last one was terrible. The Crystal Skull bullshit, we could have done without that.
One just came out, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They just came out with another one. I have not seen it because the Crystal Skull was so bad. They were done with Indiana Jones a while ago. But, it is what it is.
Yep. And Also, with this ESPN deal, a lot of heat, I guess, has been pointing towards Pat McAfee, like he's the reason why this is happening. It shouldn't be.
No.
He's signing a contract with an agency, not knowing, hey, this is going to knock a whole bunch of other people off. Nor should he honestly really care that much. He is doing a business deal for himself. ESPN is the one that is to blame here if you want to point your anger at someone. It's ESPN, it's Disney. That's completely separate as far as I'm concerned. It's not like they don't have the money to pay both, all the talent that they have there and add another talent in the Pat McAfee show. Like, they could have done it. They're making business decisions and financial decisions not that are not linked to Pat McAfee only.
All right. Well, I'm going to ask you about something that came out on Pat McAfee, but we got Joe Rockstar in here again. I'm not saying you can't like them. I'm just saying Lucasfilm not as successful after Disney. I agree. They are not as good. But there were some of the second trilogy, like where they were finding Anakin. Some of those movies are kind of dog shit. Like the original Star Wars are fantastic.
Yeah,
the
original
second trilogy
will always be the original three. Everything else to me is kind of like it's okay.
Yeah.
Unnecessary,
but
okay.
I liked the Clone Wars from the second three, but the other ones were kind of dog shit. Sand makes me sad. Like what the fuck I was gonna ask you about comments that came out on Pat McAfee's show. Listen, I love Pat. He is one of the inspirations for why I wanted to start doing this kind of thing. But he made some comments that I think that you and I know some people who write blogs because I went through and I read them for Vikings, your Vikings were unhappy with. They were making the statement or Pat was making the statement that because you guys lost Dalvin Cook, that things were going to get harder on Justin Jefferson because the offense kind of ran through Dalvin Cook. The blog that I read obviously made the exact counterpoint to that the entire offense ran through Jettas and that Dalvin Cook was able to eat because of the attention that he draws. Where do you stand on that statement? Because now with Pat being in a much more like public eye with him getting ready to move over to ESPN, there's going to be a lot more scrutiny. And this is something that he is going to have to be like, okay, well, maybe I misspoke because I don't agree with Pat because I watched you guys play quite a few games. The offense runs through Jettas. Everything is set up off of his route.
Yeah, I'm more towards the latter. Now, if we're talking like 3 years ago, the offense did run a lot more. I mean, obviously, we're not talking about Justin Jefferson at that point, but the offense did run through Dalvin Cook for quite a while because it was a run-based offense that had an inept passing game. We had good receivers when we had Thielen and Stephon Diggs and stuff like that, but the passing game wasn't what it is now with the Kevin O'Connell. We have a new type of offense. Now, Pat, he takes this sort of stance a lot where he sides with the players. And you say, well, he's not siding with Justin Jefferson. I don't think it's not that he's not siding with him, but he's saying
he's trying to pump Dalvin up, I think.
Dalvin Cook, rightfully so, expects to get paid well because he's a good running back and can be a good running back. Unfortunately, the running back position is devalued. So by Pat coming out in support of Dalvin, it is helping another player, which Pat was a player. He wants the players to get paid good money. He's trying to help these guys out, especially in a devalued position. I believe that's more so where he's coming from when he's boosting up Dalvin Cook. I don't see it as much of a knock on like the Vikings or something like that. I mean, they just got rated by one group as the 6th best offense potentially in the NFL this year. The offense has a potential to get better addition through subtraction by losing Dalvin Cook because he wasn't as great of a scheme fit. The financials didn't work out with the building of the team. And you're getting to see a lot of other guys now in the running back room who can be very successful and possibly more successful in their niche roles than Dalvin Cook was as the lead back. As far as Jay Jettis setting up everything for the offense, I think that he's going to be a huge part, obviously, of the passing game. There's so much focus has to be put on him that I'm really excited to see what Jordan Addison can do. I'm really excited to see what T.J. Hawkinson can do. both now coming in onto this team as essentially new receivers, because Hogginson, yeah, he only played half a year with us, but now he's going to have the full playbook. You're going to have Kevin O'Connell understanding how he wants to run this offense better and having better pieces for how he wants to run it and being able to open up the passing game differently. It's exciting to me to see how that's going to work. Running game is going to be secondary, though they have made a big push to say, hey, we are going to run the ball. We're going to run the ball more. We're going to run the ball differently than we did last year. So it's going to be exciting to see how that looks, because going out and signing guys like Oliver at tight end, who's primarily a pass blocking, or not a pass blocking, but a blocking tight end, was rated the best blocking tight end in the league. That's a move where you're saying, okay, we're here to support the run game. And so they're going to be doing something different. I'm excited to see how that works. I don't necessarily want to say that the offense runs through Jefferson, because as good as he has been and how special a lot of the plays have been for him, I don't get the same vibes that I got when I saw Randy Moss, because Randy Moss had insane talent around him as well. And Randy Moss was able to just do insane things because of that. Until we get another receiver in there, which maybe it's Addison, that can really open up that defense and allow Jefferson to have a little bit more freedom, I don't think that we've even seen the full potential of what Justin Jefferson can do yet. So everything right now, I don't think runs through him, but it's a huge focus for defenses just having to pay attention to him.
Yeah. Well, and you brought up a good point. Like, so Randy was different. Randy is probably the second greatest receiver of all time behind Jerry Rice. That's where I'd put him.
I mean, he's in the 1-2 talks a lot.
Yeah, you could argue. Some people would argue that he is better than Jerry. It's tough with the numbers that Jerry put up. But if you think about the people that that Randy got to play with while he was in Minnesota, you're talking Jerry Rice and Chris Carter. That might be the best 1-2 combo of wide receivers in the history of football.
Yeah. You have Chris Carter out there. You've got Jake Reed, who's no slouch. He's the number 2 on most teams for a lot of their time there in Minnesota. Like, it was a fantastic receiving room. And if we start to move back more towards that on this offense, it could be pretty outstanding. What's crazy is that in Justin Jefferson's couple years here in the league, statistically, he is performing better than Randy Moss. So that's why I'm saying, like, the potential, like, for him to,
I think that's a little bit the way the game is played now, though.
It for sure, absolutely.
I am not taking any shots at Jettis. He is the best receiver in football.
And I get that completely. Like, this is much more of a pass happy league than it was back then. But still, to be seeing him put up better statistics and for me and my gut to be like, I'm still not seeing everything out of him, is exciting for me as a fan of the Vikings.
All right. Well, brother, I got nothing else for today. We actually kind of got off on a little sidebar there and add a little bit more for the people. You got anything else that you want to talk about before we get out of here?
No, that's all for me, man.
All right. Well, guys, this is the Lineman Lounge. I'm Mike. That's Evo. We are here every week. And if you want to interact with the show, you can go on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of that shit. We are on all the socials, trying to keep up to date as much as possible. If you want to watch us, head over to the YouTube, like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that shit. That way you know when these beautiful faces can go on your TV. If we're just too goddamn good to look at for this long, and you want to listen, go to any podcast platform, and you can listen to us. If you find a podcast platform that we are not on, send us a message. I'll make sure that we are on that shit for you. If it's your obscure favorite one, we're not there, I'll get it there. All right? But guys, I thank you. I appreciate you. Anytime you spend some time with us, we cannot thank you enough for that. But I got shit to do. Homework, family time. Maybe go watch some fireworks. Let's get the fuck out of here, Evo. You ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Appreciate you. See you.